Buenas tardes a todos, a todas. Buenos días.
Good afternoon to all. Good morning.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Buenos días.
Good
Dependiendo
morning,
de dónde se unan a nosotros.
depending on where you are.
Vamos poco a poco recibiendo a los participantes.
We are receiving little by little
A todos y a todas.
all the participants. Good afternoon to all.
Vamos a dar un minutito de margen para que la
I'm going to
gente
give
vaya
one more minute so that people can connect.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon.
Parece que ya tenemos un
It
número
seems like
participantes.
we have a stable number of
Buenas tardes a
participants.
todos. En
Good
primer
afternoon.
lugar,
And
pedimos lo
first,
primero,
the very
confirmar
first
que el
thing
webinario
is
tiene
to
lugar en español, pero hay
confirm that the
interpretación
webinar takes place in Spanish, but we have simultaneous interpretation. Therefore, I invite you on the bottom of the screen where you have all the icons,
globo terráqueo,
the
pinchen en él y eligen
uh,
el idioma en el que quieren seguir
in the
el
globe,
webinario.
just click on the language you want to follow the seminar. Andrea will put the indications in English,
Click on the icon.
and she's going to explain about the icon.
Podrán ustedes seguir el webinario en
And
inglés y en francés también.
you can follow the webinar in English and French.
Va a aparecer en el chat.
You will see it in the chat. That way you can connect without any problems.
Y ahora sí me presento. Mi nombre
And I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Andrea Andugar. I'm the leader of project at the CEC, and I'm in Montreal, Canada. I have with me Elizabeth. Hello, good morning. Good morning, good afternoon. From Calgary. I'm co-founder, biologist of Ciclomanias. It's a pleasure. It is a pleasure to have you with us. We have a small box in the chat that would allow you, if you want to say hi, or we have some people saying hi, and you can let us know where you're connecting from. We would like to know where you're from. If you are very close or very far from Elizabeth or myself, and there's also a box for questions and answers. There, if you have any comments or if you have any questions, please write it there, and we will be more than happy to answer at the end of the session. We will have two presentations, and we will include some questions, short questions that you will see on the screen in order to see if you know the topic that we are discussing or if you're familiar with the material, just to get an idea of what you know. And at the end, I'm going to invite you to fill out survey regarding the webinar in itself in order to have your opinion. This survey, which you can access through a link, we will send it together with the recording and the material and through an email from the CEC. Also, our colleague Julie will share in the chat all the links that are interesting so that you can take note of all the material on behalf of Elizabeth in Ciclomanias and on my behalf. Without any further delay, I will stop sharing my screen. And we will start with the presentation. As you know, we are celebrating the week to combat the waste of food in North America. And we had a great pleasure of being colleagues or partners in this week and organize a webinar in order to discuss the topic first of education. We are inviting educators and people who are in charge of school cafeterias and also students who can use all this material. Maybe you don't know the CEC, the Commission for Environmental Cooperation, so I'm going to introduce you to it very briefly. It was established in 1994, and it was part of the North American Free Trade Agreement between United States, Canada, and Mexico. And recently, the, the trade agreement has been modernized, and the secretariat is in Canada, Montreal, and we work with the three countries, not only the governments, but also with different actors or role players at an international level. And through projects, we preserve and conserve the environment, which is common for the three countries, and through different initiatives to make to become re- more solidify our relationship at a global level. Um, all of us know that this is a problem, food waste, and all the food goes to the waste or the garbage, and it's a very large amount. At a regional level in North America, we're talking about 170 tons of food that is wasted. And the impact is terrible because on one side, we are wasting resources in in producing, transporting, and even cooking these foods that at the end you don't eat them. And everything that goes into the landfill has an impact because it generates methane, which is a very strong gas and it contributes to climate change. In this slide, we have our action kit that we will introduce. And the main topic is to emphasize comparisons of impact. All the amount of food that goes into the landfills in the three countries could fill hundreds and hundreds of football courts in the year, which is equivalent to these landfills. The equivalent of all the water that is being used in producing this food is sufficient to fill 7 million Olympic swimming pools. And these are very large amounts, and we have to take them into consideration in order to take actions and change the decisions that we are making every day. At the CC, we have worked with this problem from two perspectives. One, the quantification, because everything that is measured can be managed once you know when you know that what is being wasted in a business, you can change the operations, reduce them, reduce the impact and the expenses. And at an occasional level, because we believe that youth and children are models for change and they want to do something, they want to make an effort to improve the environmental situation. And we wanted to give tools to the educators so that they can work with youth and allow that change in behavior. And going into education, we have different campaigns along these recent years. One of them was to reduce the hill of food waste. We produced 3 videos that you can see on the screen, and you can find it in our website. We have pilot cities to develop this campaign. The city of Montreal, Mérida in Mexico, and the Olympic Peninsula in the United States. And also, we have been producing a lot of material for social networks, uh, like cards for Facebooks, Instagram, etc. And we have also worked with influencers in the three countries because we are aware of the importance of communicating this type of material in social networks. And the majority of the influencers have been mothers, and there's a stronger, that's m- or that's very strong in the education component. Last year, we were lucky and we had the privilege of contributing during this week to make people aware of the values, and for that we produced two videos that were published in social networks. One was education and the other one was quantification. And you can find these videos in the Héroes Juveniles that we will see next. This is the action kit in the food that is important. And I would like to stop sharing my screen and ask Georgina to ask a question through the poll and know from you that you know about this kit. Are you familiar with the CEC's Food Matters Action Kit? You had the question in the three languages. Very well. I think that the majority of you know it, 60%. And this gives us great satisfaction, and 40%. Now it varies. It went to 50%, half and half. Nothing happens. We're going to go step by step, and let's see what happens. Georgina, I go back to my presentation. The kit is divided into two parts. One is directed to the children between 5 to 13 years of age, and the other one is for youth between 14 to 25 years of age. These are similar activities, 10 for children and 10 for youth. They're always the same, but they are adapted according to the ages and with the degree of complexity which is different. And the structure is always the same. In the beginning, we provide a brief lesson in order to introduce the topic to the students. We give them the estimated time to carry out the activities to see whether it's an activity that they can carry out in 2, 3 hours, 1 week, 2 weeks. For example, if you are planting something, and for example, what is the material that you need to use? We have tried to use recyclable material, something that you have at home, something that you have at school, in order not to add any cost to the activity. And then manos a la obra, which is let's start working in order to carry out the activity. Do you want to do more? This action is very interesting, very beautiful, because if the educator sees that there's a great interest in the youth, they can provide ideas and do more. And last, uh, according to the activity, you can give points. For example, here, these are the first pages. This introduction allows you to get a global idea of what is the problem for the educator that will be using the kit. Some of you have already explored the problem. You have certain knowledge, you have read, and you can talk about it to the students uh, with a lot of fluidity. Maybe you haven't had the opportunity, therefore this material can be used for that small introduction into the topic of food waste. What are the impacts and what can be done? Here we have an example which is perfect for the case of today. And this is an activity in which in the action kit for children, number 8, And these are worms to combat food waste. And it describes how you can do it in a very simple manner, the vermicompost. And if you see the orange, we have the title of the activity. We have a brief description. Uh, we have the material, the estimated time. Um, it takes maybe 2 hours. And the other things, the arrows that tell you how many points you earned. And this activity is very important for youth, the composting in your community. And it's the same structure as I said. The title, the indications or instructions, the steps, the material, the time, in this case, 1 day or less, or maybe a little bit more because it's more complex because the youth are older. And a section to the right that says, did you know that? And you can provide more information because we agree that the youth are older and it's more interesting and you can get more information. This is the guide of activities, and we already have it at the website. It's very useful because it helps the educators to see what are the uh, material that will be more compatible to the activity. At the end, you can see the insignias or the points that you can obtain, and also very important, the age. Here we have everything for both ages. We don't have any distinctions. Mm, It doesn't it specifies if it's for youth or children. And what is the system of insignias? We have our friends, the tomato, the avocado, the corn or maize, and you can also have an insignia as an innovator, as educator, um, producer, cook, and if you accumulate all of them, you have heroes against food waste, which is the avocado with its cape, hero cape. You can register in the website, and my colleagues will share with you the link. Everything that you share in the chat is in the 3 languages. Our website, all the material is in the 3 languages. If you open the link and it is in a language that is not yours, don't worry, go to the top and select the corresponding language. Open, and then you can continue and see all the information in your own language. I'm going to stop here, and with all those links, you can go through the website and you can obtain all the material. Thank you for your attention. And now, before giving the microphone to Elizabeth, I'm going to ask a question. I'm going to stop sharing. Georgina is going to ask a question once again on the screen, which will help us to have a better idea of how many people, how many participants are familiarized. Are you familiar with the CEC's Young Food Heroes platform? Not too many. Mm, I hope that with this presentation you have an idea of what you can do. And it is very easy to register. Ev- Everything is free of price. It's free of cost, and you can find it in our website. You can let us know what are the activities you carry out if you want to share photographs of the youth or children carrying out an activity, or you can visit to see who has downloaded activities. And now Elizabeth will tell us about very interesting and practical things. Elizabeth? Thank you very much, Antonia. and it is a pleasure to tell you how we have put into practice this kit in different communities in Canada. Can you see my presentation?
Sí, perfecto. Perfecto, sí.
Okay. Thank you very much for the invitation. It is a pleasure to be part of the week for the prevention of food waste. Thank you very much for all of you for being with us today. And I want to share the experience that we have had working with school children in Canada and taking our activities and taking our worms to different schools. A little bit about us. Ciclomanias is an organization, social organization, pioneer, and we recycle waste. We have a circular economy, and a circular economy is more sustainable, and it it's affecting our lineal economy, which is just extracting resources, and then we uh, dispose of them in a very inefficient manner, contrary to a circular economy works with natural resources and treats the waste in like a resource that circulates in the system. The water that we drink today is the same water that the dinosaurs drank this water. So you can see how Mother Nature operates and take advantage and reuse the resources. For more than 15 years, Ciclomanias has worked in Alberta, Canada, and Mexico by reusing materials and doing vermicompost. This is environmental awareness, regenerating soils and generating employment, like we have been collaborating local administrations, international administrations, like our friends from the CEC, who are very important allies in this process. Ciclomanias offers services, including the elaboration of environmental programs like the one that I'm going to describe today. Um, and we also have eco crafts, which are environmental friendly by using recycled materials like carton boxes or plastic bottles. And tomorrow we will be having an English session in are going to do recycling plastic bottles. And the services that we offer and the offer the classification of wastes. And we are very happy because this year Ciclomanias is building a school garden in one of the indigenous communities where we have programs of zero waste, and we have important products in this garden. Before telling you about this program, I want to tell you a little bit about the history of Ciclomania, how it has evolved. It has become what today. Ciclomanias was born in Aguascalientes, Mexico, when I was studying biology, and I was interested in environmental education, and I joined effort with different communities in creating an awareness in Mexico. Part of my bachelor's degree had to dedicate 500 hours of social service to communities. And this is how I had this idea of having a social program where the bachelor degree students would have the opportunity of meeting with senior citizens in productive activities of recycling in environmental education at the maximum in an environment uh, which is fun, productive, and like I mentioned, or like Antonia mentioned, there are a lot of interesting data, and it is very interesting to know the, what we are experiencing right now. And there's a world of possibilities. We have a world of possibility to connect generations, to connect the human sense and see how we can work together, create teams, organize teams, and talk about this topic, which is so important, which is food waste. Like Antonia mentioned, 1/3 of the food goes to waste or to landfills, and we cannot allow this to continue. And this is how the this workshop, Abuelitos Activos y Ecologistas, active and ecologist grandparents. mm, Um, this past years was a reason to involve these two generations in environmental issues, creating an environmental awareness regarding waste, solid waste, in a fun way, artistic way, and productive way. The crafts were sold in environmental forums, and it represented additional income for senior citizens who don't have the opportunity of working. And this is how we started this holistic approach of Ciclomanias in order to include the sustainability and crafts, environmental education, and productive activities, and to have and to protect vulnerable groups, to protect the environment. If we protect the environment, we protect ourselves. All of us are connected, and to continue with this mission of community work and the improvement of underrepresented groups, we have focused many efforts and by working with different original First Nations in Canada. The concept of waste doesn't exist in the Indian language as well as in nature. Nothing is waste. And what is waste in nature? Nothing, because everything is a resource. You can continue recycling. For example, the water that I mentioned before. And if we have protect the nature, if we have resources from 3.5 million years ago, and I want to talk about one of the components, the vermicompost, and as well as the experience that we've had for youth, for children in indigenous communities in Canada. And this kit that I'm sharing is the action and education, and that our friends in CEC has developed in 3 languages, and I have it in Mayan also. And I recommend it. I highly recommend this program. The main objective is to promote zero waste lifestyle. Uh, the purpose of this education is for children and also for the teachers with practical tools and concrete actions that could be implemented in order to reduce waste generation and to have a composting or worm program through organic waste that is generated mainly if you have a kitchen where they provide breakfast for children at schools and personnel that work at the school. And just imagine the amount of organic waste. And to create a vermicompost is very interesting. And it transforms all this waste, and we contribute in something and transform this organic waste in warm humus. And this is why we use the gardens in order to create and to grow nutritional food, contributing in this way a circular economy. And this is a win-win-win situation. This program has 5 sessions. It could be more, but this is the first, like a little bit of a taste. We have more than 20 activities. We have used this mainly in the vermicompost, in the classification of waste, in, like Antonia mentioned, everything that can be measured can be managed. And we have to know what is the generation of waste, what is generated at schools. And the first thing that we need is to classify the or characterize the waste, and in order to evaluate any progress that we make, the recycling, upcycling. And we use this a lot also by using, for example, aluminum cans, um, any packaging, everything that can be recycled or non-recyclable, that can be, we can create other crafts. The kit presents how to create with uh, the
este,
leaves of the maize,
de
how
cocina,
to
aprendemos a hacer
how to
tortillas de
make
maíz
dolls, and we also learn how to
este,
do corn tortillas.
estos hechos
And
para el maíz, pero
the
también puede ser un motivo para crear
the leaves of the
memorias,
maize
crear
or
historias.
the maize can
Y
be
bueno, el
used for
vermicompost,
different
me
things
gustaría
in the
saber un
vermicompost.
poquito
I would like to know a little bit
nuestros
about
participantes, qué tan familiarizados
from
están
our
con el concepto
participants. Do
del
you know
vermicompost.
anything
Me
about
gustaría poder
vermicompost?
compartirles
I would
algunos
like
de los que
to
saben para saber un poquito
share, or I
quiénes,
would like to know
quiénes saben de vermicomposting y
who
no
know
quiénes
about
no.
vermicompost,
Elizabeth,
if you're familiarized or not.
puedes dejar de compartir, por
Can you
favor.
stop sharing
Georgina comienza y solamente
and
recordarnos que nuestras
remind
intérpretes
you that
están
our
haciendo un gran
interpreters
trabajo
are doing a
y que
great
luego
job
hablamos muy
and
rápido.
we are speaking very
Por
fast.
favor, un poquito más
Please
despacio. Gracias.
go a little bit slower.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Perfecto.
Do you know what
Gracias.
vermicomposting is?
Excelente. Súper, muchas gracias.
Thank you.
Muy bien, bueno, pues para
Okay.
aquellos nuevos con el concepto de
For
vermicompost,
those of you who are new to vermicompost or the vermi or worms, it's the compost made with the worms and a universe of microorganisms that participate in creating organic matter in a vermi way and faster than a traditional compost. There are more than 100 species of worms, but the ones that are used for vermicompost are the red worms or the red wigglers. But in order not to, it's Xenia fetida. In this workshop specifically is very successful because imagine for the youth and for the children and the senior citizens, they were very excited to look at the worms and to follow the worms 2 or 3 months, for example, and see how they would react to the banana peel and how it disappears in 2 or 3 months. And another session that are included in this program. This workshop is very useful for those schools that have school gardens or school orchards or community orchards. This workshop separates the worm, humus, and the mixture with dirt in order to create nutrients. And then you put it on the soil and then we have the compost. Like it was mentioned, everything that can be measured, everything that can be measured can be managed. And once we have all the waste, we know that how many waste are being produced by a classroom. In the majority of the cases, this corresponds to more than 60% of the waste are organic. The ones that have vermicompost has a lot of organic waste. Special emphasis is for the generation of soil using materials like the vermicompost. And it is an opportunity to think about the waste that we create as human beings and compare them to the waste generated by nature with our role playing. We give a brief introduction to the soil cosmos and how the soil is related to the growth of plants, especially with the agricultural value and producing organic food, which has a very high nutritional value. For example, in order to have the nutritional value of an apple that our grandparents would eat, in order to have the equivalent nutritional value now, we would have to eat 6 apples. And that is because the soil that are feeding us today is practically, you have to put fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, so that it can grow a fruit. And as you can see, the fruits are basically empty calories without any nutritional value. So this is why the vermicompost can help us to feed ourselves in a more nutritional manner. In many of the schools, if not all, with which we participate, have their own kitchen, and to have a recomposting very well managed will not generate bad odors. Many times, they have this idea that it will generate odors when I'm cooking. How can we handle that, Elizabeth? And the kit has very interesting data of how to develop a very good vermicompost. It will not generate bad odors because the worms go from the top to the bottom, moving the soil and ventilating, airing all the soil. And we shouldn't have any bad odors. This vermicompost has been very intelligent in schools in which we work and also in classrooms. It has also the vermicompost as such is a very clear example of a closed cycle of how nature works, where we don't have any waste, but the resources that are recycling, reused, and then we use its properties. And we continue with this cycle, with this infinite circle. In this module, we compare the properties of a conventional compost compared to the vermicompost, the advantages, disadvantages, and the behavior for the production of vermicompost, even at home, taking this knowledge from school to the home and to develop influencers at home, especially if the children are those at home, which are the spoiled children in school at the home. They can do a lot with all this knowledge. And as part of this activity, we also do the separation of worms for the composting of their gardens. To have a vermicompost, this chart has meaning. And this curriculum activities and the kit has all the breakdown that of all the work that we have done according to the age groups, the children from grade school or youth or young adults, and what are the activities that they can carry out, which are of a great challenge for them to get involved in this topic. And they get very excited because they have natural sciences, they get involved with social sciences, math, art, science and technology, health, the environment, because all this is connected. This topic is very holistic and it has a lot of benefits and it generates a lot of advantages. This activities opens the doors to a world of activities, and it's a win-win situation. The teachers are very happy to see all the structure and according to their age groups, and they are not limited. It opens the doors to diversity, and the youth are very happy because these are activities that they can carry out. They can see it, and we're not telling them. They are doing this in person, and to see that their compost is making a plant to grow, or at the end, This is what we will
con
eat,
buena salud.
and it will give us very good
Somos lo que
health.
comemos.
In the end, we are what we
Y
eat.
en la parte izquierda de la
On the
diapositiva
left
se
of the
aprecia
slide,
uno de los
you can
sistemas
see one of the
vermicompost que usamos
systems of
en la clase de
vermicompost
base,
that we
que
use in the
producen más
classroom,
materia orgánica
which
que la
produce
planta.
more organic matter
Este sistema
as
tiene
like a
cajas
kitchen.
con agujeros donde
It
se
has
mete agua
drawers
de la base
with
a la base
holes
conforme
where it
vamos
goes
agregando
from the
nuevos
base
desperdicios de
to
comida
the upper
y se
part
van dejando
as you
atrás.
add new food,
Ese
and it
descarte,
leaves
también
behind
conocido como
the
residuos de
fecal
comida
matter,
en inglés,
or better known
worm casting,
uh,
ah,
worm casting,
un nombre más elegante,
a
pero
more elegant
el agujero del nombre
name, but it's
va a
the
impregnar el suelo y posteriormente ese
humus of the
es lo
worm,
que nos va a dar un fruto de comida.
or this
Y
is
bueno,
what will
algunas
feed,
imágenes de los
this is
peces
what will
mozapeques
feed the
descubren
soil.
el
And
microcosmos donde nuestras queridas
these
lombrices
children
viven,
are
aprendiendo
discovering
sobre
the
anatomía,
microcosmos.
fisiología,
They are learning
microbiología,
about the
curiosidad
biology,
y la sorprendente
the
fuerza
how the
de
worm
una
likes
musculatura
the
más grande
humidity
que
and how they
una
like
máquina devoradora que
darkness.
alimenta.
And
Afuera
these are
tienen
like machines
músculos
that love to
fuertes
eat. It's
y
like a
capaces de
very
comer hasta la
big
mitad de su peso
intestine.
en un día.
A
También
worm can eat
tiene un montón de datos
more than
curiosos.
half of its
Cuanto más
weight
siempre son
in
divertidos
in
para
a day.
iniciar
It's
estos temas y muchos
uh,
de los estudiantes
many
pues
of
están al
the
tanto y conectan con
historians,
todos sus amiguitos, sobre todo
um,
cuando tienen la caja de compost
and when they have the compost
que
box
aspiran a
for
ser
months,
profesores, entonces ahí tienen
they dare to put to give
de
names
sorprender a
to
algunos
the
niños
worms.
de lo que
Um,
les han puesto
they
las
have
hormiguitas.
given
Entonces
names to their
una
worms.
comunidad ahí
So they
de
have a
amiguitos
fraternity of
donde
friends
los niños crean también ese
where the
sentido de
children have
responsabilidad,
this
de
sense of
alimentar, de darles
responsibility
las condiciones
of
adecuadas.
feeding, of having adequate
Describe
conditions so that
una lombriz.
the worms can be happy.
Y bueno, después de un par de meses
And after a couple of
de
months, and
cuidar
depending
la
on
caja
the
de
care
vermicomposta,
that
el
the
humus
vermicompost
está
box
listo para
has,
ser
the
cosechado.
humus of the worm can be
Denme, vamos a
collected.
apreciar
In
cómo
the
los
middle
niños están
photograph, you can
usando
see how
herramientas de
the
madera
students are using
para separar
wood
la
structure
lombricita del humus. Es
to
toda un arte
separate the
la
worm
selección.
from the humus.
Voy a
It's
pedir
a
a Julie
complete
que si puede
art.
compartirles
And
también nuestro canal de
I'm
YouTube,
going
donde
to ask
explicamos a
Julie
detalle
to
cómo se
share
hace esta
the
separación
YouTube
de la
channel so
lombricita
that you
del
can
humus
see
de
how we
vermic,
separate
del
the
humus de la
worms and from
planta,
the
de continuar
worm
trabajando en
humus
nuestra caja de
so
lombriz
that
y
we
podamos
can
cosechar y
the
utilizar
worm can work in another
por
box
ejemplo, ese humus de
and
lombriz
take advantage of the
puro negro,
worm humus,
el black gold,
which is the
porque se
black
talla como el
gold
oro.
because
Y este humus fue
it's worth
procesado
its
con 3 partes de tierra
process in gold.
y las semillas son plantadas
And the
en
seeds
cestas
are
de
planted
clases o
in
de jardín
pots
escolar
in the
de cada
classroom
alumno.
or in the orchard, the
Y
school
bueno,
orchard.
es genial ver cómo los
And
estudiantes aprecian
it
el
is
compost,
great to see how the
llevan a cabo
students
estos
take advantage.
alimentos, pero al mismo
The
tiempo lo
students
gratificante que
enjoy the
resulta
effort
el
that they
esfuerzo
made
cuando se
and
saborea el
the
fruto y
effort,
con
and
tanto
when
esfuerzo
they
se
eat
ha
the
producido
fruit
el
or the
alimento
vegetables that
que
they
llamamos
produced,
semillita.
mm,
No hay
they
niño
eat
que no
it
quiera
very
comer lo que
happily.
ha crecido y cuidado
All the children
cosechado.
want to eat
Y
what
el
they
no
grew,
desperdiciar alimentos
and
se
not to waste
convierte en
any
una
food
práctica
becomes
natural
a
del
natural
día a día.
practice from a
Hacer
daily
decir
basis.
no desperdicies
More
alimentos
than saying,
lleva
don't waste your food,
lleva mucho tiempo, mucho
it takes
esfuerzo
a lot of
hacer
time,
una
a
buena
lot of effort
vermicomposta, una
to make a
fertilización
good
natural para el
compost,
suelo,
a good
protegerlo
fertilizer
por
for
4
our
meses, 6
soil,
meses,
protect
incluso hasta
that
4 meses
food for
realmente
three,
podemos
4 months,
y que
and
reditúe
that
en un buen fruto,
it
que no queremos para
it
nada
yields a good
desperdiciarlo,
fruit that
pero
we
si el
don't want to
fruto
waste.
no tiene
And
una
even
buena
if you don't have a
apariencia
good,
y cuenta también con
if
una
it
etiqueta
doesn't look good,
frente a los alimentos feos y una serie de actividades que buscan
also we
vendernos,
make
para
reference to
nosotros es
ugly
sorprendente
vegetables
ver
or
cómo este
ugly
concepto
food,
es
and see
entendido
how this
cuando los alumnos
concept,
crecen sus
when
alimentos y se dan
the
cuenta la
students grow
conformidad
their
de que el
food,
alimento
you can
perfecto
see that
no
the
existe.
perfect food doesn't
Se ve
exist
en la
or
diversidad
uniformity doesn't
donde lo
exist.
natural
And it's in
domina cada uno.
diversity where nature
Suena súper
radicates.
poético,
It's
pero
poetic. This is
por
poetic,
eso la
but
actividad
it's very
que
true.
sugiere de
So
crear un
the
superhéroe
activity
a
that the
super
kid
heroína buscando una
suggests to
fruta
have a
que no les
superhero
guste es muy buena
um,
idea, ya
is
que
a
lo
very good
hace
idea
estudiante
because it allows the student to take advantage of that
que le da
unique
personalidad
characteristic
y
that
mejora
gives it a
el sabor.
personality and it doesn't take away the
Que
flavor
vermicomponer tus alimentos te permite
and
restaurar
the
y
good flavor.
reapreciar los
And
alimentos feos como algo
give value to the ugly vegetables or fruits, because in diversity is nature. And this is why money crop, if you inject chemical in order to grow in a different manner, and many times we don't have any pollinizers that is attracted to this type of monocrops. It's not attractive for them. And the kit also includes as a final activity. It invites us to become part of the circular economy. I love this one because this is what the vermicompost does, to work in a closed circuit, following the laws of nature and the way of life of indigenous communities, because they knew that you have to observe and respect nature. It's our best teacher. In the majority of the First Nations in all the world, the concept of waste is like when we want to use cellular or TV. So these are these are fat words because they didn't exist. And in that concept of waste, food waste, it does not exist in nature. Everything was taken advantage of, nothing was waste. And this topic allows us to think about a more circular world, to be able to, for example, that as consumers, every time that we buy something, to do we give our vote to continue working in a circular economy? Therefore, to promote the critical way of thinking between the students, the teachers, as agents of change, like all of you, you contribute to a just food system in order to create communities and promote the CC has the program of youth heroes, and we have the insignia of, and because of our activities of vermicompost in our schools and the program of zero waste. In conclusion, this kit is an excellent tool that allows us to have activities and to give us structure and reliable information, important information that as educators we're looking for in order to give or to open a world of possibilities and to promote awareness among the students, teachers, and parents in a common effort in the prevention and reduction of waste. And continuing with this line of systemic circular thinking, Pete Seeger has this quote of the importance of living in a circular world and in harmony with everything that surrounds us. If we cannot reuse, recycle, reconstruct, resale, recycle, or compost, then it should be prohibited, redesigned, or eliminated from production, because if the products that we have around us and the principles of nature, then they should not be produced. Thank you very much for your attention and your participation in the week of prevention of food waste. And this is our link. These are our contacts in order to continue being connected and to take advantage of this beautiful world and to take advantage of the activities of our worms. We have a series of webinars this week, and thank you very much. And you can register for this week of waste prevention. And that's all I have. I hope it wasn't too hard for our interpreters.
Tan interesante, Elizabeth.
It has been
Muchas
very
gracias.
interesting. Thank you very much, Elizabeth.
Que no les has agobiado, todo lo contrario, seguro que han
On the
aprendido
contrary,
muchísimo con nosotros.
we have learned
Realmente
with you.
ha sido una maravilla de
It has
presentación.
been
Estoy muy
a great
impresionada.
presentation. I'm very
Estoy hablando en
impressed,
nombre de
and I'm
este
sure that I'm
grupo de
talking on
trabajo,
behalf
porque
of
nos
all
está
the
aportando
participants,
muchísimo
because
conocimiento
you have
tan importante,
given us a very
tan
important
valioso
message, very
y sobre todo
valuable
que nos ayuden
message.
a reflexionar
and
reflexión
especially
sobre
that
cómo
allows us to think about
todos
what
los días
we are doing
cómo
every
podemos
single day and how
como tú
we can
decías,
change. And
sea a
like you
nivel de
said,
clase, de
at
escuela,
a
pero a nivel
classroom
familiar
level
también.
and also at a
Hay que
family
saber,
level,
hay que a
the
veces
children at
escucharles,
home,
porque se
we
dan
have to
cuenta que
listen
realmente
to them
somos
because
conscientes de lo que
we
se
are
está haciendo
noticing
mal.
that
Así que te lo agradezco y te
a,
felicito en nombre de todo el equipo de
congratulations
CCA
on
por el
behalf
gran
of
labor
the
y
CC
el
team for your
identifico
great work
esa
and
insignia de lo
evidently for
sistémico
that
es muy grande que hay un
insignia
aguacate
of the avocado,
sistémico en forma de insignia
the avocado
y
who is a hero,
esperamos que sirva
and
de
that is the
paradigma
insignia. And
a
I
otros
hope that it
participantes del
encourages
webinario a
participants of
distribuir
the
y
webinar
compartir
to
lo que
register
están
and
haciendo
share what they are
en esta
doing
plataforma.
in this
Tenemos un
platform.
poquito de margen,
We
unos
have a little bit of
minutitos.
time, a few
Me
minutes.
gustaría saber
I would like to
si hay
know
alguna pregunta.
if you have any
También Andrea,
questions.
nuestra compañera, que
Andrea,
está siguiendo el chat, o algún
who is
comentario de
following the
alguna
chat,
persona que quiera
any
compartir algo.
comments or anybody who would like to add or share something?
Sergio nos pregunta, bueno, nos felicita por las presentaciones y nos
Sergio
pregunta dónde podemos
congratulates
verlo
us
nuevamente.
for the presentations and he wants to know where he can see them again.
Sí, buena
Thank you,
pregunta.
Andrea.
Vamos
Very
a
good question.
compartirlas.
We
Vamos
are
a
going to
enviarles
share
un
them.
correo
We are going to
electrónico
send you a
con
follow-up
esa
email
liga para
with
la
that
encuesta
link, the survey.
y en ese
And
correo
in
irán las
that
presentaciones.
email,
Así que podrán
we will
tener un
include the
enlace y
presentation
verlas
also
tranquilamente de nuevo
so that you can see
y
them
podremos
once
incluir
again
los enlaces que han ido
and all the links
compartiéndonos a
that have been
compañeras. Esperamos
shared.
que tomen nota
I hope that you
y
took
vayan
note
poniéndose en
of the
páginas
links
con-
and that you can go to
para
those
mirarlas en el
websites
momento en que ustedes tengan tiempo.
to
También sé que
see
Andrea y
them
su
when
colega
you
os
have
han
time.
invitado
Andrea has
a
also
solicitar
invited
el
you
kit.
to request the kit.
Nosotros somos conscientes de que no
We are
siempre
aware
hay
that
acceso a
we do not
Internet
always have
o,
access to the
en
internet,
algunas
or
comunidades
maybe in
tampoco
some
hay un
communities
recurso muy
you don't
potente
have
para
the important
imprimir en
resource
papel.
to
Sabemos que es
print
costoso, con lo
the
cual si alguno de ustedes
kit in
necesita
paper.
copias
But
para
if
maestros,
you
para alguna
need
escuela
copies for
del kit, no
schools or
duden
for
en escribirnos, en
teachers,
pedirnos.
please let us know.
Tenemos en inglés,
We
en
have it in
francés y en
English,
español,
French, and
así que
Spanish.
con mucho gusto
So
se lo
we would be
enviaremos.
more than happy to send it to
Déjame
you
miro a
via
Andrea y le pregunto
mail.
si tenemos algún
Andrea,
comentario o alguna pregunta.
do you have any questions
¿No?
or
De acuerdo.
any
Yo
comments?
creo que hay mucho que digerir.
Okay,
Nuestras amigas viscosas,
we have a
sumar
lot to
información
digest,
y todo lo que
like
podamos
our
precisar
worms, friends,
y ponerlo en práctica,
and
que eso es lo importante.
to put it into
Que se
practice.
sientan
That is
cómodos para
important.
poner esto en
Please
práctica
feel
en
encouraged
sus
to put
escuelas, en sus
this into
comunidades, en sus
practice in your
hogares.
schools, in
Y
your
no me gustaría
communities, and at your
robarles
homes.
el tiempo, la
Thank you very
participación
much for your
a
time, your
Elizabeth,
participation,
su
to
maravillosa
Elizabeth
presentación
for her great
y su
presentation
inspiración para todos.
and her
Y como
inspiration
siempre,
for
a
all,
nuestro equipo,
and
y
to
Andrea,
our
Georgina
team,
y a nuestras
Julie,
intérpretes maravillosas
Georgina, and
que
our
hacen un
great
enorme labor
interpreters
con mucha
who do
paciencia y
great job
esperamos, perdón,
with a
si se
lot of
nos ha ido
patience.
muy rápido.
And I
Gracias
apologize
a
if
todos.
we have spoken very
Muchísimas
fast.
gracias a todos.
Thank you very much.